You look like you've wandered away from the valet stand. Perhaps you should find the service elevator before the actual donors mistake you for the help. This room is reserved for those who contribute to the world, not those who merely occupy its corners. Alaric Whitmore didn't just speak. He projected his disdain like a physical force. He stood in the center of the classic grand ballroom of the Whitmore estate, an environment of suffocating wealth. Gold-fretted walls, velvet-draped windows, and a massive, tiered crystal chandelier that cast a cold, clinical light on the elite crowd. Alaric stood with his chin high, his hands empty, staring with absolute disdain at the man standing near the marble fountain. The man was Cassian Vane, a man with deeply pigmented mahogany skin and a quiet authority that seemed to make the room's frantic social climbing feel irrelevant. He was dressed in a bespoke midnight blue velvet tuxedo with a silk lapel, new outfit. "I am here on a personal invitation from the executive board," Cassian said, his voice a low, melodic resonance that cut through the quartet's music. "I believe your family is expecting me to finalize the $50 billion infrastructure merger. The merger requires a titan, not a loiterer in a rented suit." Alaric interrupted, his voice rising in a calculated escalation of disdain. "Look at this room. Look at my family. We are the foundation of this city's economy. You are a footnote. You're a social seating error who probably spent his life savings on that tuxedo just to stand in the same air as us. Security, escort this error to the servants' entrance immediately." The ballroom didn't fall silent. It filled with the sharp, jagged laughter of the surrounding billionaire elite. Alaric's sister, Helena, leaned against a gold-leafed column, smirking at Cassian with clinical, high society disdain. "Honestly, Alaric," Helena laughed, swirling a glass of $30,000 vintage cognac. "He's very committed to the role, finalizing the merger. Maybe he's here to polish the silver before the deal is signed? Someone should tell him that the Whitmore fortune is built on bloodlines, not on whatever ambition he thinks he has." The woman beside her joined in, pointing a manicured finger at Cassian's velvet tuxedo. "I'll give him $500 to go assist the drivers with the cars. He looks like he's built for the outdoor work. Go on, Alaric. Clear the floor before the scent of common ruins the beluga caviar." 12 people in the background were ostensibly minding their business, adjusting their tuxedo lapels or sipping vintage wine, but 8 others were acting as active witnesses, leaning in to catch every second of the humiliation with judgmental grins. "Thanks for the support. We couldn't do this without you. Subscribe for free to help us keep bringing you more stories. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments." Now, back to the story. Alaric, emboldened by the social jury, took the escalation to its peak. In a moment of raw, unposed physical aggression, he didn't just gesture. He snatched the gold-rimmed champagne flute from Cassian's hand and poured the liquid down the front of Cassian's midnight blue tuxedo, the cold alcohol soaking the velvet as he laughed in his face. "I said get out," Alaric hissed, his face twisted in a mask of vicious mockery. "Someone call the police. We have an intruder trying to steal the atmosphere." The laughter in the ballroom was a physical weight. Cassian didn't flinch. He didn't scream. He slowly stood his ground, the cold champagne dripping from his silk lapel, his eyes meeting Alaric's with a coldness that caused the ballroom's warmth to vanish. "You've spent your life thinking a surname on a building makes you the owner of the world," Cassian whispered, the coldness in his tone causing the witnesses' laughter to die instantly. "But you forgot that a building is just a liability, and I am the one who holds the deed. You didn't just humiliate a guest, Alaric. You just assaulted the chairman of Vane Global, the man who was supposed to sign your $50 billion salvation tonight. And as of this second, the deal is dead." The ballroom, once a theater of mockery, became a tomb of silence. The massive, tiered crystal chandelier above hummed, its light reflecting off the champagne, soaking into Cassian's midnight blue velvet tuxedo. Alaric Whitmore stood with the empty glass, his hand beginning to shake as the social jury of 8 witnesses felt the sudden, violent shift in the room's gravity. "Vane Global," Alaric's voice cracked, the high society sneer dissolving into a frantic, stuttering whisper. No, Vane Global is a London-based sovereign fund. They're a faceless entity. You can't be him. I am the face you chose not to see, Alaric, Cassian said, his melodic resonance filling the room like a tolling bell. I flew across the Atlantic to save your family from the brink of insolvency. I was prepared to inject $50 billion into your dying infrastructure projects. But it seems you value your ego more than your equity. The grand mahogany doors at the far end of the ballroom burst open. Alaric's father, Lord Sterling Whitmore, ran into the room, his face the color of ash. He ignored his son entirely and fell into a deep, subservient bow before Cassian. Chairman Vane, Lord Whitmore gasped. I am so sorry. I was in the library preparing the final documents. Please, tell me my son hasn't. Tell me we are still on for the signing. Your son just informed me that I am a service elevator error. Sterling, Cassian said, his quiet authority silencing the room. He and your daughter felt it was appropriate to drench me in your vintage champagne while your peers laughed. They seem to think the Whitmore name is built on bloodlines. I'm here to show them it's actually built on my approval. Cassian reached into the inner pocket of his soaked tuxedo and pulled out a leather-bound folder, the $50 billion merger agreement. With a slow, deliberate motion, he didn't just drop it. He tore the signature page in half and let the pieces flutter onto the wet marble floor. The deal is terminated, Lord Whitmore, Cassian announced. I am triggering the reputational hostility clause. Not only is the merger dead, but Vane Global is calling in every short-term loan we hold against your estate. You have 72 hours to vacate this property before the bank takes the keys. No! Helena screamed, dropping her glass. It shattered on the marble, the sound of her family's future breaking. You can't do that. That money was our only way out.
You should have thought about the way out before you blocked the way in, Cassian countered. And as for the architects in the audience, he turned his gaze toward the 8 witnesses. Every firm represented by a person who laughed tonight will find their credit lines frozen by morning. I don't partner with people who find assault entertaining. The 8 witnesses scrambled for the exits, terrified that Cassian's gaze would fall on them next. The man in the pinstripe suit who had mocked his ambition nearly tripped, his face a mask of raw, irreversible regret. Sterling, Cassian said, looking down at the broken patriarch. I tell you to have your children escorted out, but I've already contacted the sheriff. Since Alaric saw fit to assault me in front of 20 witnesses, he'll be spending the first night of his poverty in a cell. As the police entered the ballroom, the 12 guests who had been minding their business watched in stony silence. Alaric was led away in handcuffs, his screams echoing through the velvet-draped halls. Cassian Vane walked out of the ballroom, his head held high. He had terminated their fortune in seconds, and as he stepped into the night, the Whitmore legacy was erased forever.